Welcome to Life with Jemma Blythe. This is your midweek coffee break, a pause for reflection, a sip of something warm, and a wander into the shadows where myths, mental health, and queer women's stories meet. Each week, we'll take a legend or a piece of folklore and turn it over, like a stone in your hand, to see what truths are hidden underneath. The eerie, the haunting, the half-forgotten. They all have something to tell us about survival, healing, and finding our own kind of magic. So, pour your coffee, settle in, let's step into the story.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to your midweek coffee break here on Life with Jemma Blythe. Today, this begins another tale of myth, legend, and a little haunting. Today, we're listening for a cry that's carried on the winds for centuries, a woman's wail that chills, one of unbearable grief, and echoes down riverbanks and sends a shiver through anybody who's heard it and who's ever loved and lost. We're talking about La Llorona, a woman, a myth from Latin American legend. Her story is one of unbearable grief, punishment, and haunting. But under the ghostly veil, there's something deeper. A truth about how grief lives inside us. Long after the world expects us to just pick up and move on. So, take a sip of your coffee, light a candle, and let's step into the night where tears meets the river. Now, bear with me. I have a little story time for you on La Llorona and who she actually was. Get comfy. Once upon a time, there was a woman named Maria, known in her village for her beauty. People said she could stop men mid-step with her smile, and for a while that power felt like safety. She married a man of wealth and charm. They had 2 children, and for a time she was happy. But like many legends, this one turns dark. Her husband grew distant, spending nights away, his eyes wandering to younger women. One evening, Maria saw him ride past with another woman in his carriage. Rage and despair tangled in her chest until she could hardly breathe. In that blinding moment of heartbreak, she took her children to the river and drowned them. When she realized what she had done, she screamed until her voice tore apart. She ran along the bank searching for her children, calling out, "My children! My children!" But they were gone. And when she died, some say by her own hand, others say of heartbreak she was denied peace. Now they say she wanders still, a ghostly figure in a white dress, dripping wet, weeping for the children she lost. She cries echo near rivers, warning travelers and mothers to take care or to stay away. Some call her cursed, others say she is the curse. But maybe she's something else. Maybe she's grief itself, refusing to disappear just because time says it should. So, La Llorona's story haunts because it touches something raw that's inside all of us. That place where grief meets guilt. We've all been told in some way, shape, or form to move on after grief and to stop crying, to stop missing what we've lost. And sometimes when we experience grief, it's like we turn into this hollow shell of ourselves that sits differently. It's something about us which sits differently that we're not used to. And that's the thing with grief. It goes up and down all the time, all the way throughout the year. And years after you've lost somebody, there's no time limit on how grief can impact one person or multiple people. So when we hear a story like La Llorona's, we realize and recognize the fact that grief lingers and it drifts beside us like fog, and we don't see it, we don't notice it all the time. And sometimes when we feel grief, sometimes it does creep on us and it does weep and wail like La Llorona did. And sometimes we try and silence it and say, we're fine, I'll be all right, I'll be fine. How many times can you do that before you crack? Realistically. And then it finds another way out. In dreams, in exhaustion, sudden tears when you thought that you were okay. I've been there. So in times like this, it seems strange to say it in a way. But La Llorona, do we think she was a monster? Or is that just the way that she's been portrayed? Like poor Medusa and the Banshee. Is that a common thing that we've got here? What's at play? I think she's the moment that we realize that grief isn't something that we're meant to conquer. It's like something that we're expected to carry with us, almost like a lantern, if you will. And I have something written down for my coffee shop confession this week that I don't necessarily agree with. I'll tell you why I don't. I had a story about a breakup written down, when in actual fact, I don't want to talk to you about that at all. I want to talk to you about my father that died 12 years ago, I think. I could be wrong. He suffered with a brain tumor for 18 months before he passed. He had chemo, radiotherapy, all of that kind of stuff. I was just expected to pick up and move on after he died, but it's impossible in certain situations and at certain times. And the rest of it I can talk about. So there are times when you've lost somebody and music comes on that reminds you of them so intensely, and you feel like your throat closes up, and it's almost like the tears come but without permission, and you can't actually acknowledge that you're crying because you don't know that you're crying in that moment. And when you cry after grief, be such a violent cry or such a silent one. And there's been times when I've sat there and felt shame for crying because it's almost an, oh God, not this again. I've not cried enough. And then you have to think of something that's happy to bring you out of it, like happier times, happier memories, happier feelings when you're around that person. So now I'm going to think of La Llorona, okay? And maybe grief doesn't care about a place or a timing. It's just there. It's just trying to be heard. So sometimes it's best just to let your feelings sit for a while without putting shame or guilt or any of that in the way. It's best to just sit and acknowledge that that's the way that they are. And that's the way that things have to be. So, and nobody should apologize for their own grief. That's one of the worst things that you can do, actually. Apologize and say, I'm sorry. What are you sorry for? You're the one that's loved and lost. Why should you be sorry for expressing your feelings? So sometimes maybe La Llorona was trying to get people just to sit and listen to her and warn people. Maybe that's all she wanted. Anyway, I have a little reflection for you all now. So if you've been carrying your own ghost of grief, someone you lost, a love, a version of yourself, I want to invite you to try this little ritual with me. Take a glass of water, hold it in your hands. Water remembers like rivers do. It carries stories. Whisper into it quietly if you can the name of what you've lost. A person, a time, a dream. And then say, I see you, I feel you, but I'm going to keep walking. When you're ready, pour that water out into soil, into the sink, even into the air. Let it go where it wants. You're not erasing your grief. You're giving it somewhere to flow. Because maybe La Llorona's curse wasn't her weeping. It was being forced to weep alone. And I think that's important for us all to take home and take stock. So when you think about these different myths, legends, people, folklore, the list really goes on, doesn't it? Sit and wonder about what strengths they carry and what qualities they carry that you can admire and take with you. Maybe it's their strength. Maybe it's their quirkiness. Maybe it's just their overall power. So I'm going to leave you with this now. Grief isn't tidy. It's not linear. It's not something you get over. It's a river you learn to live beside. Some days it's calm. Some days it floods. But it's still part of you. Proof you've loved deeply and survived loss that could have broken you. La Llorona's cry might be terrifying, but maybe it's also beautiful because it means she still remembers. And remembering is what keeps us human. Thank you for sharing this time with me. If you're missing someone right now, and if something still haunts you, you know you're not alone at the riverbank. I'm there too. Cup in hand, listening to the river. So take what you need from this story, leave the rest behind, and carry it like a charm until next Wednesday. Until then, take care of your heart. And remember, sometimes the ghosts we fear the most are just the echoes of our own love.
Thank you for sharing this coffee break with me. If today's story stirred something in you, remember, you're not alone. The myths we carry are old, but the lives we're living are ours to shape, even when they feel haunted. Take what you need from this tale, leave the rest behind, and carry it with you like a charm in your pocket until next Wednesday. Until then, take care of yourself and remember, the shadows aren't only where we're lost, they're also where we find ourselves.